Hi guys. So also Elizabeth, mostly we basically keep people on mute so that we can all hear you talking and sharing. And then then at some point we'll open it up to questions. So yeah, I'll just give it a couple more minutes, and we'll see how many more people join us, and then we'll get going. Have you had a good day anyway?
Yeah, very good. Very good day. Lovely morning.
Yeah.
Training coaches in this understanding of
Oh wow.
wisdom and how it works.
Yeah.
And then hanging out in the afternoon, creating ideas and plans.
That sounds perfect. It's the best kind of day. Lovely. Yeah, well, we'll just give it another couple of minutes, and see who joins. I know there are a couple of others who had said they will be joining us. But yeah, just so you know a little bit about the summit, I'll perhaps explain it whilst we're just waiting to see if anybody else joins us. Yeah, so basically, the aim behind this summit is, I call it the Self-Rediscovery Summit, and that's because I think a lot of people come to the journey of self-rediscovery with the idea that we're going to fix or change something in the external. And what I found in my own journey with the principles is that really it's about seeing more deeply who we are. And for me, that's kind of seeing that we're wisdom in action. So that's kind of been the theme, is just basically exploring how we can rediscover who we always were all along. And then kind of, I know you talk about kind of embracing being human as well, so I'm excited to dive into that a little bit, because one of my misunderstandings when I first came to the principles was that, you know, we're all just walking around in a world of thought that doesn't really matter, and then, you know, we almost go beyond that and elevate. And then I was like, no, but we're still human and we get to dance. So the kind of second part of it is all about kind of unraveling a life we love by dancing in our humanness. So that's kind of what the summit is about. And we've heard from lots of different wonderful speakers and their own journeys about how they found freedom from things that they might have suffered with, or, you know, anything like that, and things they've found freedom with, but also how they have then unraveled a life they love to create, and lead life from there. So this is a perfect kind of topic, really, is leading life from wisdom. So yeah, it's been fun. We're live most Fridays. I'm generally hanging around in the Self-Rediscovery Facebook community, answering questions that come up in between, and it's just really nice to have a chat every Friday with someone new who's sharing their own kind of journey through life with the principles and with different things that they've seen. So yeah, I think what we'll do now is I'll just do a little bit of an intro, because I know you've got a lovely bio, so I'll share a little bit about you so that people can know a bit more about you, and then we'll go into a more human conversation. Yeah, so I've been really excited for this conversation because I know you're a really powerful leadership coach. Just going to admit people as I'm talking, and wellbeing expert as well. I know you're good friends with Ian Watson, who's one of my favourite people as well, and Leanne Brooke Tyler, who's also coming to chat to us next week. So yeah, it's kind of cool that you're here, and I know that you kind of help people access their wisdom and inner resources to lead in times of real change. And I know your favourite subject, you said, was letting wisdom lead. So that feels really aligned with what we're talking about here. But yeah, so you're a leadership wellbeing expert and coach who gives people headspace to access fresh insight. As a result, they discover resilience, clarity, and creativity to lead collaborative teams through real change. You're an author, speaker, and wellbeing commentator, and have 20 plus years experience, having worked with over 10,000 people. Wow, that's amazing. And you help leaders access their real wisdom and inner resources. You also help people discover the personal key that will help them succeed and deliver their intent, cultivate, I guess, their organizational culture, and lead performance breakthroughs in their lives and businesses, no matter what is going on around them. And you say, when people think and feel better, they do better and lead better. and you've got so many clients. I was like, I don't even know who to pick to read all these. So things like the Body Shop, Discovery TV, Hewlett Packard, IBM, Itsu, ITV, Kahoot, Charlie Bigham's, Cook, Pret a Manger, the English Rugby Football Union, is it? Samsung and WPP Group. And you're also co-founder of 2 social enterprises and Kindred Spirit Consultancy. So I'm just wondering when you have spare time. Really?
I'm a mother too.
Oh my gosh.
2 boys.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I said earlier, I was like, this, she can't have kids as well. This is
Yep.
wow. Okay, well that's, yeah, I can't wait for this then. Just, yeah, real powerhouse. So yeah, so I guess the way I usually start is just by inviting you to share your own kind of personal journey, because I think people love a personal story, and I do anyway, so because it's more human. So I just wondered if you'd share with us kind of a little bit about your personal journey with the understanding that we're pointing to, I guess, and yeah, anything that you've ever kind of, I don't know whether you've suffered with anything that's kind of led you to have these insights and about kind of leading more from wisdom. So I'm just going to hand it over to you and see what you've got to share. Yeah,
Thank you. Thanks, Nicole.
that's all right.
Welcome, everyone, on a Friday evening, if that's where you are, if it's evening where you are, or whenever you're listening, you're welcome. Now, where to start? I think I want to start with, I was always a bit of a problem solver. Like I could always understand quickly what the problem was. And I was oriented towards efficiency and fixing and making things work better. Yeah, so that, I think, is a personal characteristic and a professional skill, because I ended up working in IBM improving processes. Now, what's interesting about this is I was 19 years old. This is a long time ago now. I'm 57. So a long time ago, I was 19 years old. And there might be some ladies who might remember this. And I think I saw a man who's now disappeared. Oh, no, he's turned his camera off. But there was a time before iPhones. There was a time before computers. And I worked in IBM at a time in the customer call center when we took calls that the computer had broken down and we put them on a punch card. And we put the punch card in, and that was how we collected the information. So this was before, even though IBM sold computers, it was before computers became the norm.
Yeah.
And I was 19 and I understood, we moved from punch cards to computers, and there were a number of middle-aged ladies there, and I trained them, even though I'd only been there for 2 months. I ended up training them on how to make this change. So that was my first professional foray into how, training, education, and improving processes. And I would say, when you say let wisdom lead, I didn't know any more than anyone else, in the sense that nobody had more training than me, but I had something in me that understood, and I was able to share that understanding with others. So even though I was the youngest and the least experienced in taking calls, I had something in me that said, it's okay even if you're the youngest. It's okay if you're new. You have something that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
And so when I look back now with an understanding that I have about how life works, I can see that already I was wise.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Yeah.
So 19 years old and wise. So the first thing I want to offer us all is we can sometimes think wisdom is a function of age.
Yeah, that's a good myth to bust.
But what if we're born with it?
Yeah.
what if we're born wise, knowing what we need, knowing what we need to know? Now, I don't mean that intellectually that we know everything, but we're born with an inner mentor, an inner guide, an inner GPS that is personal to us, has inner guidance for us, cannot be diminished, cannot be taken away.
Mm.
And yet we all know that we get lots of other information from other people about what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, what we should, what we shouldn't. So it's very easy for that in little voice inside, that inner part of us, to be obscured by what I would call noise.
Mm.
And we can confuse who we really are. I wrote down, as Nicole was introducing me, the question that we all have, I think, at one point or another in our life, which is, who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I? And we wonder about that our whole lives until we see something true. And we look for the answer in roles. I'm a mother, I'm a provider, I'm a leadership coach, I'm a teacher, I'm a cook, whatever. These are ideas of ourselves, but we can easily locate ourselves and say, oh, that's who I am that.
Yeah.
We can also kind of use different lenses. So we can say, well, I'm a Cancerian, I'm a Sagittarian, or I'm on the Enneagram, I'm a type 8 on the Enneagram, or I've got this way of, my brain works in this way, so I've got ADD, or so we can easily, I want to say, misidentify who we really are.
Mm.
And I think when we get a sense of our true nature, our essence, we start to be able to distinguish for ourselves our own essence, our own wisdom, that is not a function of an identity we've got in our heads or an idea that we are. Like, even I'm a good person is an idea.
Yeah.
So then we go, oh, I'm a good person, so a good person would do this. So we can often get confused about who we are and what we need to pay attention to. And so I can see, I've been trying on different roles all my life, as we all do, right?
Yeah, I love that, how you describe that.
Especially in our 20s. I think we try on hairstyles in our 20s, and we go, what was I thinking 20 years later? but we try them on to see, is this me? Well, anything, I want to say, anything that is temporary isn't you. It's a temporary expression of you, but it isn't who you really are. Who we really are. Because who we really are is energy. And that energy is intelligent.
Yeah.
And when we fall in alignment with our essence, our energetic, our core, the essence of who we are, when we fall in alignment with that, when we're just being us without a lot of identification or ideas of who we are, we're just being our essence. We're just being here, being us, and it feels good.
Yeah.
I call that well-being.
Yeah.
And well-being is innate. And here's the gorgeous thing. When we are in alignment with that innate well-being, that essence of who we already are, wisdom arises.
Mm.
Our wisdom naturally arises. Now, it looks like sometimes we're doing something and then that wisdom arises. So sometimes we can be kind of really grappling with a problem, and then we go for a walk and suddenly we have the answer. Or we're in the shower, or we're driving the car or walking the dog. And then we suddenly have that kind of aha moment. Oh yeah, I see now. That's really what I'm talking about when I'm talking about wisdom.
Mm.
Another word for that is insight. Suddenly we see, but we see from the inside. We see a shift in perspective occurs, and it's got a qualitative feeling, clarifying, ease.
Mm.
And that insightful wisdom is a natural expression of our true nature.
Mm.
So our true nature is energy, and it's one energy. So the energy, the universal field, whatever you want to call it, it's giving life to us.
Mm.
It is the life force itself, and it has intelligence. So if we knew, not as an intellectual concept, but if we knew that it was as simple as putting down any kind of having to be somebody, a wonderful teacher called Ram Dass says, we're a somebody. If we're a somebody, like we have to be a somebody, that would create something in the way between our essence and our wisdom. We'd have to be somebody. We'd have to do things. We'd have to prove something.
Mm.
Now, when we don't have to be something or someone, and we're just being in our essence, we are given every single thing we can possibly need. And nobody teaches us this. Nobody says this is how it works. And many of us spend a lifelong question with, who am I?
Yeah.
And if you knew that you had the universe, the wisdom of the universe, the intelligence of the universe available to you at any moment, there would be nothing that you couldn't meet.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I love that. And it just instantly blows out of the water any notion that there's anything to do. It's like, yeah, we don't need to be anyone other than, yeah, just our natural kind of true essence, I guess.
So, I developed a career in fixing, and then I kind of traveled the world, and then I got another job in IBM fixing processes. And then I discovered something that was brought from the outside of IBM into, we found at the time, everyone's a coach now, right? But 25 years ago, that didn't exist as a profession. And we brought in a guy called Alan Fine, and he was a tennis coach. Right. And he had trained techniques, right? So he had trained in doing tennis.
Yeah.
How to do tennis better, right? And that he'd made a whole living doing that.
Yeah.
Then he came across, he knew that he could teach techniques, but they wouldn't always stick and they wouldn't always help. And there was something else going on. And then back in the day, this was, in the 80s, there was this book called The Inner Game of Tennis, which started to look at, there's two games. There's the game that you play, and then there's the game in here. And so Alan got very interested in the inner game. And he started to realize that people had their own knowing. And if he could unlock their inner game, their outer game naturally improved.
Ah.
So I was very lucky because 25 years ago, I was apprenticed to Alan Fine. First of all, when he came to teach us in IBM, then I left IBM to work with him. He asked me to work with him.
Wow.
Because I realized I'd discovered something. And what I discovered is there's so much less to do when you're helping people than you think there is.
Mm.
Actually, all people need is the space to be pointed back to their own wisdom.
Yeah.
And that is what I believe coaching to be. And that is what the 10,000 people I've worked with, I've pointed them back home.
Wow, 10,000, that's amazing.
Some of them in groups of 200, right? But not
Yeah.
really over 30 years, it's, it's not that hard.
Yeah. It's still an impressive number.
Yeah. Well, I know people and I love people, I think. That's the key.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. I love that. And yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, something occurred to me. It's, something I really want to share with people and what I know to be true and what I think sometimes, what I think you were speaking to earlier, Nicole, is that there's a paradox in being human.
Yeah.
And paradoxes by their very nature do not, they contradict each other. So we are all powered by this energy, and in the essence of who we are, in our spiritual essence, in our formless energy, we are all the same. We all work the same way. We are all creating our experience in the same way. We are all connected in the same way. We are all one. If you're on the moon and you're looking at the earth, you just see one alive being.
Ooh, I love that.
That's what you see.
Yeah.
And yet we experience ourselves as separate, but really there is just one energetic field where things come in and out of form, right? That's just what's happening.
All flowing within all of us.
Yeah. So at the level of, so that's true. We've all got the same energy. We are energy changing. And that's true at the macro level and the micro level. Now, what's also true, this is the paradox, the beautiful paradox. We've all got unique fingerprints. We've all got different thoughts in our head at any given moment. We are all different. So both of those things are true. And this is why I love wisdom, talking about wisdom, because it's where those paradoxes meet. So this energy that's powering us, this universal intelligent energy that is giving us access to ourselves, as you could say, spiritual energy or just being, let's just call it that, or being who we are, that is the universal energy, but it comes alive in us through our own personal wisdom, our own personal knowing, which we experience through our own personal bodies. As embodied, Leanne will talk to you a lot about embodiment and being human and the value of being in a body, and what that makes available to us. So I see wisdom as where those two meet in us. And it's when you understand what wisdom is, where it comes from and how it works, I promise you, it is literally the only thing you need in life to guide you.
Yeah, that's very much my experience. And I think when I came across the principles, it kind of, seeing that just kind of stopped everything dead in its tracks, because I was kind of very much like you. I'd been a fixer, or but I was fixing myself. I was trying to fix and change everything about myself. And then I saw this so clearly, that we're wisdom, and there's nothing really to do. But I at that point I kind of just saw it as, well, there's nothing to do, so let's just sit here and do nothing. And so I wonder how far kind of almost that feels like the opposite of leadership. I don't know.
Right.
So I wonder if you can speak to that a little bit.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
I just want to just kind of, I seem to be telling a bit of my story and then talking and then a bit of my story. So I just want to fast forward to just before I came across the understanding that we're talking about here, Nicole. So I was a coach, I was trained, I was successful, I was coaching leaders, I was using questions and various processes and tools and techniques to help them unlock their wisdom. So I was kind of on track, but there was still some doing. And then I kind of was the kind of coach and teacher that would always apply everything to me first, because I couldn't, with integrity, use anything without it knowing that it had worked or could work. So I'm out there in the world, I'm coaching leaders, I'm successful, I'm making money, I've got 2 kids, I'm traveling all over the world, and there was this dark side that I didn't want to acknowledge. And then I did start to acknowledge, which was this. I knew that sometimes the work I did would stick and sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes there would be an impact, and then sometimes there wouldn't. And sometimes there'd be life-changing insight in the coaching session, and then next session it would be back again. The problem would be, or a different one. And I just did what I used to do then, and what many of us do. I just blame myself. It must be me. There must be a better way for me to help people in a more sustainable, stickable way. And I honestly started to kind of feel a bit embarrassed to be charging that money and not, I'd say I could deliver that, but then I kind of knew that it wasn't really up to me. I do my part, right? But I wouldn't seem to be able to control the outcome. So I was kind of in a little bit of a doubting phase and I'd been doing this, I was 47, so 10 years ago. I'd been doing this for a long time already, but I was doubting myself. And one of the things that really, how do I put it? The dirty secret, that's how I'm going to put it. The dirty secret was this. I would scream at the kids sometimes. I threw a pot plant on my husband's head once. I would behave in ways that if someone was filming me and I was on, Channel 4 News, no one would hire me as a coach, right? So I knew that too. I knew that I had this very human, flawed way of being from time to time. And I would say to myself, well, hang on a minute, how can you possibly be this coach, enlightened being, people think you're amazing, and then have this shadow side to you? Like that's incongruous and inauthentic somehow. So I knew that all my clever tricks and tool bags would work sometimes on my clients and others not. Same with me. Sometimes it would work on me and others not, right? Like something else was driving the Elizabeth train. and it wasn't me. So I knew that, but I didn't know. So I got really interested in NLP, which I'd studied for years, but I got interested in something called a breakthrough process. I thought that's the magic bullet. Yeah. And I went and trained in it, and I understood it, but I noticed that when I tried to apply it, it was so far away from my essence to try and get someone somewhere. That was kind of my break, if you like, with tools and techniques. I didn't want to be manipulating someone. It didn't feel right. That was my wisdom. Those times when things just don't feel right? Yeah. And they should, and you try and convince yourself, but there's something in you just says a no, and you're, if you're in a good place, you listen to it. And if you're not, you overthink, you override it, and So, but I got this like, no, that's definitely not the direction of travel. So I'm kind of reading stuff, and I'm, I wasn't in a hurry, but I was open. Let's put it like that.
Mm.
I'm I'm getting some emails from Michael Neal, because I knew Michael Neal 25 years ago, and I was apprenticed to him before he came across this understanding.
Oh, okay.
And I stayed friends with him and got his coaching tips and stuff. I was one of the first people he wrote his coaching tips for, actually.
Oh,
So there was a little group of 4 he talks about, and I was one of those. So I was very lucky. And then I noticed that something in his tips had changed. He stopped having these tips, right? He stopped having these tips and techniques and all that stuff. And he started having these kind of more philosophical things to say. And I was really annoyed, because I loved my kit bag of tools and tips and techniques and and he started talking about the relationship handbook and what he'd seen, and I just went, oh well, that's what I do in business. I help people have great relationships, build collaborative cultures, work together better. So I got this book and I read it in the bath, I think in 2 hours. I remember where I was, and I remember reading it and knowing that every word in this book was true. Like it resonated with what I knew.
Yeah.
But I also knew that I didn't do what it was suggesting all the time. So whenever I would get that feeling in my stomach that my husband really needed to change, and there was something that he needed to fix, I would tell him.
Yeah.
Right? Of course.
Of course.
And myself, you really need to fix that, you really need to get on that, so I would be what I can now see in a very agitated, urgent driven, low frame of mind, doing things from that place.
Yeah.
When the other person was also in an agitated, low frame of mind, my husband or my kids. And guess what? Guess how that worked out? So yeah, my husband really loves being fixed, and so do my kids. So I started to see that what George was pointing to was that our frame of mind, or our state of mind, is a variable. It's changing all the time. And just because our thoughts say, well, you really need to, confront that issue, doesn't mean that I need to confront that issue, because it's actually the worst time to try and confront an issue, when both people are caught up in a low mood. Now, that's very easy for us all to see right now in this lovely, peaceful space. But, last week, I confronted my husband about an issue when I was lost in thought. And then I woke up and realized that maybe we could just let that go for now and come back to it when we were clearer.
Yeah.
Now that's an option to me now, because I understand. And I would say that that was my first taste of the principles of what I call innate well-being. But really, I got a glimpse in that moment of what I'm now going to refer to as the truth of what makes us all tick.
Yeah.
And innocently, I did the best I could, given what I knew.
Yeah.
And as a result of understanding more about what makes us all tick, I understood humans better. And as a result of that, a whole pile of, I want to say controlling, just didn't make sense anymore. It just didn't make sense to me to try and control the outside world anymore.
Yeah.
When it was the inside world of me that was creating all of it.
Yeah. Wow.
And I absolutely love, like, one of my favorite ways to talk about this, if any of you have had kids and you've driven a car and they've been in the back seat fighting, you will know what I'm talking about. So I would be driving along, and then they would start, I have 2 boys, 21 months apart. They would start fighting in the back seat, and I'd get a feeling in my stomach. Now, it looked to me quite reasonably that their fighting was creating my feeling. right? Because, if they weren't fighting, I wouldn't be feeling it, I would think. But then there would be
that's how we're conditioned. That's kind of how we're conditioned, right?
Well, it looks that way, right?
Yeah.
Let's just not, let's not dismiss how it looks, because it does look that way, right?
Yeah.
It really does. Except for some days I'd be driving along, they'd be fighting, I hardly even notice it.
Mm.
And then other days I'd be super mum and I'd have this really wise thing to say that would stop them fighting. So it was pretty random, but different things would come out of me at different times. But the fighting was fairly consistent, still is, by the way. They're 17 and 19. They did it the other day. Actually, not that long ago, they were literally physically fighting in the streets of Brighton before lockdown. And I was in such a good place. It was October last year. I was in such a good place. I just said, make sure you don't go in the road. That was what was available, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, what I started to realize was that there was this variable, and it was always me, and that's how it works. Mm. And I started to get really interested in feelings, because some of us suppress our feelings. Some of us ignore our feelings, and some of us express our feelings.
Yeah.
None of those are particularly healthy, by the way. And then what I would say that this understanding has given me, and also a lot of the work of Leanne as well, now I have them. Now I have my feelings.
Yeah.
But they don't have me.
That's gorgeous.
So I've got this new relationship with feelings, and the quality of my feeling is really giving me incredible information. And there's wisdom in feelings. And that's the human part. Our feelings are all coming from the same source. And feelings for me now are, I think, put it this way, what would life be like without them?
Yeah.
Right? Like what would experience be without a feeling of joy? Or I want to grieve my losses. I want to feel outrage at injustice.
Yeah.
I want to experience what I'm experiencing. But if I experience feelings without an understanding of who I really am, I am my feelings. Right? So back to what we were talking about at the beginning, our essential nature is unbreakable, is unassailable, is untouchable by any feeling. Because there's a constant, our true nature. And then there's the variable, which is our experience, which most of us experience through feeling, whether it's physical sensation or body chemistry, or we experience what we experience through feeling. So the feeling is a variable. So I can have any feeling, high, low, in between, when I know that who I really am isn't that feeling.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Nicole, to you?
It does to me, yeah, very much. And I'm kind of like all about embracing all of the humanness, because for me, it's like there's a richness in all of it. And I think that's really what Sid was pointing to, is like, we don't need to be afraid of our experience as long as we understand it. So I think that's pretty much summing that up for me. So I don't know about the others. If anybody has any questions, then they're welcome to pop them in the chat as well. I've just seen there are some comments in the chat, but yeah, if anybody has questions, then they can pop them in the chat, or we can come to them live, depending when you want to open it up to live questions. It's up to you. But yeah, I'm
open to keeping talking forever, or I can be asked questions. Can be interrupted. I don't mind. I'm good. I want to be of service. So really, I guess the question to you is, Nicole, what do you feel right now would be most of service to whoever's
Well, I
here
guess
right
if
now.
anybody has any questions, they can raise their hand, and then we can bring them on. I would love to hear a little bit more about this, about how this kind of plays into leadership and that
Leadership.
kind of and that
Okay.
doing and non-doing. But if anybody has a question, then they're welcome to ask it now. We can always come back to that, or we can keep on talking and then come to questions at the end. So
Okay, keep talking, it's great, says Jivan. So I'm going to keep talking because, you know, I'm born talking. So, okay, now let's talk about leadership. The best way I've got to talk about this in light of the understanding is I absolutely love to talk about it like this. So let's see if this resonates for you or not. I want to talk about action because whilst Nicole's been saying, you know, non-doing or, you know, doing is less important. I don't want to give, and I'm sure Nicole doesn't want to give the false idea that no doing happens.
Yeah.
You know, doing
that was actually quite a funny misunderstanding I had when I first came to the principles. Like, well, I'll just sit here and wait for wisdom to guide me, and that's all I'm going to do. And it's like, then I realized actually no, we can still choose to play in being human and dance in that. So I'm interested what you're.
Yeah. Well, you know, chop wood, carry water. It's like that is what is a human requires in a metaphorical sense. You know, we still need to function. But there, I want to say that action, well, this is how it looks to me, arises in kind of from two places. And I want you to see if you can recognize this, because they have a different feeling. So back to feelings. Feelings are our guide. They're our barometer. They're helpful to us. So I want to start with conditioned action.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of action. You know, when you've got your to-do list that you've written 2 days ago, and the 2-day-old you wrote that, and then the today you's like, what? I've got to do all of this today? What was that 2-day person thinking 2 days ago? No, and you've got this long list of shoulds, right?
Yeah.
That's conditioned action. You know, when you got an idea of yourself, like I'm a good ex, you know, I've read a book and a good leader does this, or a good mother does that, or a good employee or an entrepreneur, or if somebody's starting their own business, you've got a list of things you should do. That's conditioned action.
Yeah. I was great at that. I had an MBA, so that was like
the world loves people who do conditioned action a lot.
Yeah.
What they should do. The world is set up to encourage it. So, you know, ignore that. No. Just distinguish for yourself what conditioned action feels like.
Yeah.
And it's just got shoulds in it. It's got some kind of must, have to, ought to. And if you look deeper, you'll see that in order to, it's got an in order to associated with it, right? I've got to do this in order to X so that I will feel Y.
Yeah.
Right?
And kind of, it feels to me like it's got this kind of sense of need, like we need to do it.
I need to do X. I should do X in order to feel Y.
Yeah.
Right? Ultimately, there's a Y. And the Y is going to be, I guarantee you, one of the following things. In order to feel love, freedom, fulfillment, or peace. It's the answer to the Spice Girl question. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. Okay? I do that on my training with my leaders.
I love that.
I even dance for them, you know, they love it. I don't actually know if they love it or not, but I don't care. But right, the answer to the Spice Girl question, tell me what you want, it's the same for everyone. This is the bit where we're all the same. It's a version of one of those.
Yeah.
Love, peace, freedom, fulfillment, joy, whatever. So that's why you want the car or the job or the kid or this husband or the figure or the money in the bank or the launch my course online or whatever it is that you think you want. You want it so that you'll feel that. Okay, so that's conditioned action, and that's how we're taught, right? Do good, to be a good person, do these things, then you'll feel this. But is it true, my dears? Is it true? Have you ever fulfilled a goal, felt happy, cracked open the champagne, and then went, My friend climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and she was happy for 10 minutes, and then, you know, what mountain are we going to do next?
Yeah.
Right? This isn't it. You think it'll be it, you get there, it isn't it. Because things don't live, the feelings you're looking for don't live in those things.
Yeah.
It's the story we tell ourselves, the conditioned story we tell ourselves. Okay, so that's conditioned action. We got that? Do you all relate to that? Kind of, we all do it sometimes, me too. You know, it's just what it is to be human. We condition ourselves, other people do, the world does, you know, we take it on. Okay, that's got a feeling. I'm going to say should feeling. And then there's the other kind of action, inspired action.
I knew you were going to say that.
Oh, inspired action comes from within. It has desire in it. It has flow. It has a good feeling. And it has a kind of knowing. So inspired action is most recognizable by its ease.
I love that. And when you were talking about conditioned action kind of almost being material, I was thinking, where does desire play into that? But
right here, sister.
Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah.
Leanne will talk to you a lot more about desire. I really recommend tuning into Leanne. Leanne's very interested in what the body wants.
Yeah.
What the body wants.
Yeah, I'm excited for her as well.
So desire is, so this is where I feel like each of us we are unique. We've got this unique kind of uniqueness, you know, gifts, strengths. We're all different heights, sizes, shapes. You know, some of us can pole vault, some of us can draw, some of us can sing. These are unique gifts, right? So we are a unique combination. So what comes to us as inspired is a function of all of that coming together, wanting to come through us.
Yeah.
And when we make space for that inspiration and we don't judge it, evaluate it, try and think it away, it just is action. We are action. Yeah. Effortless action. Now, I think you can all answer your own question. What has all that got to do with leadership? Well, let's look at who the leader is being when they're in a world of shoulds versus who a leader is being when they're listening to their own innate wisdom and inspired action. See, same person, two different leaders.
Yeah.
And who would you rather be led by?
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. I really love how you've explained that. Actually, that's really, really spoken to a place in me that is just because I can see that in myself. You know, like you say, in different moments where I'm kind of falling back into my condition, like this is how this is going to work. Like I'm going to do this, I'm going to create this, and then other times where it just flows and it's like, oh, this is really exciting. I could create this and that'd be fun, and like this place of joy, and always the creation that comes out of the flow and the desire is much more successful. Even, you know, we're judging our own success, but it always has a good feeling. so that's very much my experience as well, and something that I've come to see. So I love how you've kind of explored that as well. Yeah.
I want to add something else, which is just a little twist. The very same thing on your to-do list, that today is a conditioned action, tomorrow can be an inspired action.
Yeah.
It's not in the action.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
Like cleaning the bathroom mostly looks like conditioned action to me. But when my mother's coming, I'm really inspired somehow.
I
It's
love,
effortless
yeah,
and joyful.
yeah.
You know, making my mother's room ready for her. I mean, I had just had my second baby and I was ironing her um, duvet cover. I have never ironed before or since a duvet cover, but I was ironing it with a full heart. It wasn't what she would think of me. It was to do with I want to give everything.
Yeah.
You know that it yeah. And so it's not the action. Do you see what the nuance here?
Yeah, it feels to me more like it's kind of like a heart-led thing
Yeah, beautiful way to say it.
rather than like a material thing. I don't know if maybe material is the right word, but yeah, heart-led, it feels gorgeous. I don't know if anybody has any questions, if anybody wants to come on now to share anything. Otherwise we can keep going. Let me just see what's in the comments. Yeah, if anybody wants to come on, I'm just taking a little look through to see if anybody's raising a hand, or you can raise your hand using the raising hand button, or just pop it in the comments as well. I'll just read some of the comments out.
It's Dominic.
Hey.
Hey, Elizabeth.
Hey,
Miss you. We did some stuff before, and then we just see each other, and yeah, like that. So this is really great. I mean, I so relate to it. All my work is kind of in organizations and stuff. So I love the way you articulated that with leadership and action, and those are amazing distinctions. And you started to get into, because of the feeling part in here, right? And maybe because when you started at the beginning, some of the things you said about feeling, I was going to ask more about, where you said, for us to have feeling, rather than it's expressing them, or it's, like those things you said. How do you bring that, just if you link the feeling to leadership?
Yeah.
And then how do you help them? Because there's some leaders who are expressing feelings that probably they probably shouldn't be expressing, and so stuff like that. So yeah, what do you do with the feelings with leadership, and how do you kind of bring that part of it into the conversation?
I love that, and I'm giving you a little sneak peek into what I actually teach. When I teach leadership, I teach a program called Leadership Wisdom, and I do a lot of work one-to-one and with teams. So I always seed something. And one of the things that I often will seed is the idea that there's a hidden constant and a hidden variable. And we know we've got our own words for those things, but the hidden constant is the awareness that we are. This is how I would talk to my leaders, right? The awareness that we are. So you know that there's a you that was at your 6th birthday party, and then had your first kiss, and then went swimming and on holiday, and is here now. You know how old people say, I still feel like I'm 25? That's because the essence of them is ageless, timeless, and unchanging. Do you get a sense of what I'm talking about? There's a you. People call it the observer, the witness, consciousness, awareness. It doesn't matter what you call it. Let's just call it the hidden constant that is always aware. And that's the backdrop against which the hidden variable appears. So the hidden variable is your temporary experience. So let's talk about where that comes from, because we all know that when we're in awareness and we're just present, we feel great. We're clear, we're calm, we know what's needed, we hear our wisdom, no question, we take inspired action, life flows. So how come we're not always there, please? Well, because there's a variable. And so the variable is also hidden. So the hidden variable is, okay, let's back up one step. It looks like our experience is coming from something else, right? So the kids in the back seat, my bank account, the weather, I'm going to, for the purposes of this conversation with my leaders, which you are, it looks like our experience is coming from those things, right? And so that we respond to life on that basis. Now, what most people don't understand is that there's a hidden variable at play. There are those things happening out there. The kids are shouting in the back. I do have my stomach feeling, but the hidden variable, until I know what it's made of and how it works, I don't know what's going on, really. I've got a misunderstanding. So the hidden variable, I would call, in my language, there's many ways you can describe this, but I'm just going to call it, for the purposes of today, an energetic power called thought, with a capital T. But not as we know thought, right? It's got a really wide definition. I'm going to say thought is made up of conscious thought. What am I going to have for dinner? Less conscious thought. Blinking your eyelashes right now. You're not consciously doing that, I'm guessing, but they're blinking. Something's blinking them. So there's some kind of subconscious, less conscious thought. I'm going to say feelings are sensations in the body, right? You feel sad. If I say to you, when you feel angry, where do you feel it? Most people will say their gut, or they might say here, or they might say here. But there's a physical sensation. That's how you know you're angry, right? So that's what I'm going to call thought, because there would be a corresponding brain activity for that. I'm going to say perceptions, whether we are aware of them or not, are thought. I'm going to say there are categories of thought: expectations, judgments. I'm going to say thought is also when you imagine a future. Thought is also when you imagine a past, which is technically what the brain does. It doesn't remember. It creates a memory of the past. So all of that is what I mean by thought. And nightmares, dreams, any experience you can have is created through this power called thought. And it comes into form through our brains, maybe even our guts, but through something in our body, then creates, inform our experience. So feelings are triggered in our brain, and then we experience. But we misattribute where they're coming from. They're coming from this power called thought. And then the part 2 that I would say to the leaders is, if you understand how thought works, the mechanics of it, you can take it into account. So here's what I say. It's temporary. It's designed to look real. So when we have a thought, and through the energy of consciousness, it looks real, right? It just looks, that's how it looks. It's always changing. It follows a law, which is what you give attention to grows. Like that's how thought works. Where you put where attention goes, energy flows. So we have lots of thoughts that we don't give attention to, but the ones where we do, we bring to life, and we get more of them. I'm walking along, I walk past Paper Chase, I go, oh shit, I haven't bought my mother a birthday card. I feel guilty, right? That's just normal life. Then guilty, I focus on my feeling, my thought. Oh my God, I'm such a bad person. Oh, all these other areas where I'm feeling guilty. See, guilty creates more guilty. That's the level of consciousness thing, where whatever you're giving energy to, you get more of it. It's neutral. You know, if you get lucky and you have gratitude, suddenly you're grateful for the birds and the flowers, you know. when you focus on gratitude, then you get more of it. So I talk about attention, and then I kind of come out with what I think is the big hitter, which I'm a bit of a provocateur, so I quite love this. Quite love saying this. I say, look, this might sound like really bad news, but it's the best news you're ever going to hear, ever in the history of the world. You are not in control of your thought. And if you were, you would be able to absolutely tell me what you're going to think at 5 o'clock tomorrow. You don't even know what you're going to eat tomorrow, let alone think, we do not, if you take a look, you'll see thought just happens. It appears. So if you know that, and you know that thought changes, and you know that what you give attention to grows, and you know that you are awareness, you put all that together and you start to realize that when you are in alignment with awareness, thought comes and goes, and there's a space where you are able to, or I want to say, it's more available. I want to say that it's more available to you to give attention to the quality of thought that feels better. Is more available to you when you are aware. But when you are identified with any individual thought, I'm having a bad day, my husband's the problem, if only that person wouldn't have said that thing. When you are temporarily identified with your thought, it no longer, it looks real in that moment. It no longer looks like there's a you and a you that has temporary thought. It suddenly looks different. But even when it looks like that, when you have an understanding, you start to realize that even when thoughts, dark thoughts, difficult thoughts come, you can start to understand what is happening for you. And so if feelings are also a form of this power called thought, the same applies to them. Now, the other nature of truth about thought is that what you resist persists. So whenever you try and fix or change or modify or get rid of thought, I'm going to call that resisting what is. See, resistance is an engineering term. There has to be something to resist. You take away that, there's nothing to resist. So what does that mean for feelings? Well, ever tried not to be angry when you're angry? How's that working out? See, the trying not to be is the resistance, right? Yeah. So when angry happens, because we're not in control, we can, good people don't feel angry, try and suppress it. We can, it's only thought. That's also known as spiritual bypassing. I'm not a fan of that. So that might look like it works, but it's not really working. You can go, I'm really angry and it's your fault. I'm going to throw a pot plant at your head. That's expressing. Like those, I would say, are not healthy response to feelings. But you can have your feeling. You can have it. You can let it pass. You can experience it fully, knowing that it is a temporary experience. Yeah. And you can make it mean whatever you want. And I happen to making it mean there's value in it. There's value in my feeling.
I know you shared Jeff Foster the other day on your Facebook. I love Jeff Foster. I always quote him because I think he's got a really nice way of kind of explaining this. And I love how he says that feelings arise to be held, not healed.
Bingo.
like my favorite of his quotes. So I kind of quote it every week, actually. But,
well, healing is like something needs fixing. Held is, there's no resistance.
Yeah. And it's not like held on too tightly. It's not
No,
like
held
hold it and dive into it. It's like a lightness, it feels. It's like, well, we can be with that feeling, but then, you know, it'll move through and yeah. And then we can kind of choose our focus, I guess.
Well, what we can know is angry feelings will see things to be angry about. Hurt feelings will see things to be hurt about. Sad feelings will see things to be sad about. Guilty feelings will see things to feel guilty about. You know, that is the nature of them. See, mostly we're just longing to be whatever we are, whenever we are. And that is where the holding part comes in. See, what if we can be the holders? I like to think of those unwanted feelings. You've all got them. See, I'm good with sadness. Don't like fear so much. You know, we all have our don't like, feel good, bad feelings.
Yeah.
I'll cry anywhere, at any time, at anything. And I like a bit of a cry, you know?
Yeah,
so I don't have any stories about I shouldn't cry in front of people or anything like that. I'll just cry whenever crying happens.
Yeah.
But we all have some feelings that we've rejected. Okay. I like to think of them as little orphans that we've put out on the street to starve. Now is the time to welcome them in and embrace them and hold them in the space of awareness, merge them within, allow them to be, and we become whole.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And there's this, it just, life just feels so much more, I don't know, truthful. There's a familiar richness to it. It's like we don't suffer with it anymore because it's all welcome.
All is welcome.
Yeah. And in that, it kind of passes through faster as well. Because like you say, the more we resist it, the more it stays. Yeah.
You know, Dr. Bill, I did a series with him where I interviewed him about all the different psychological issues people can have, because he's a psychiatrist with 40 years experience. Yeah. And you know, he actually talks about most feelings have a 90-second.
Oh, yeah.
90 seconds that they last unless they're fed. But on their own, have you ever tried to cry and then sort of, oh, I'm kind of done now, like I'm really upset, and then you kind of go, you know, allow it, and then it's like over. I never actually wanted a good cry because you're allowing it, and actually things are triggered and then they settle. They're just physiological responses to keep us safe. That's all they are. It's very healthy to feel.
Yeah, I love that. That's so, I'm really loving that exploration. Dominic, did that answer the question?
But what do I say to leaders about feelings?
Yeah, that's excellent context in terms of for them to see that. And if you imagine, like, we know what does it look like when a leader then is holding the feeling? Like, we know what it looks like if they're expressing it. We know what it looks like if they're suppressing it. So how would they show up then if they were, in that?
If they were allowing.
Yeah.
I want to say human. That's really the word I've got, Dom. And I say that because I'm on a bit of a soapbox at the moment.
A which?
A soapbox. I don't know if that's the right word in North America, but where you stand up and you kind of rally people to a cause, right? Okay, this is my soapbox. We are human. So
newsflash.
But really, like that, Dom, you know this, in business, that is not the first position where people stand in. I often say in my trainings, oh, okay, here's a conundrum. Are we more like washing machines or trees?
I love that.
Yeah, it's good.
Press the button, go. Press the button, go. That's business. Well, good luck with that, because that won't turn out. And see, is it working for the planet? Because that ain't working. So what is? Well, natural laws. We are human. Making space for being human. Holding your own and others' feelings. Allowing. But most of all, pointing people back home, because when they're at home, the quality of their experience and their feelings is better. So I make the case actually for, well, what would it mean to have an organization where the leaders and the organization was at home on the inside? See, clarity would emerge. People would collaborate. They'd listen to each other. They'd play to their strengths. They'd have empathy. It would unfold naturally. Individuals would feel confident in who they were and will not second guessing themselves all the time. Creativity would be ever happening all the time, responding to the needs of the moment. So I call that the 5 C's. So you've got clarity in leadership and in judgment and in decision making. You've got collaboration, you've got individual confidence, and you've got creativity. That's going to deliver you performance. No brainer. What's the source of that? People aligned with their core.
And this is true throughout the whole of life, right? Not just in businesses.
Absolutely. I just happen to be my arena.
Yeah.
So I made up this thing called the 5 C's. It's all made up, but it's grounded in every single thing. Dom, you'll have studied, every single thing, modality, teaching thing. Those 5 C's will be there. Different language, but they'll be there. It's the human side. So businesses need to perform. They need to make money. It's oxygen. But what is the feeling in which that performance happens is what makes people stay or leave.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, really, really powerful articulations and very relatable and the right language. Like it's accessible, right? Yeah.
Well, talk to people. We need to, if we're going to bring this into other places, we have to talk where people are. So I mostly work with executive leaders who run big businesses and their teams, but I've also done some work with the Pret Foundation because I worked with one of the leaders, and then she ran the Pret Foundation, amazing woman, Nikki Fisher, and her job was to help homeless and ex-offenders get into work. And she actually came up with the name Wisdom and Wellbeing, which I then took to be my business name. And so I'm working with ex-gang members and drug addicts and prostitutes. So I've never been on the street, but I'm saying, well, you know how when you're on the street and like there are really bad days and then there are other days and you're kind of fine, that fine bit, that's who you really are. And every one of them knows exactly what I'm talking about. Better than I do. See, I've never been up against their circumstances, but they have been up against the worst of circumstances and knew they were okay from time to time. But nobody ever told them that's who you really are, because most of the world relates to them as their circumstances, right? Including them.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that this is applicable everywhere all the time. You just have to find the way of expressing it that's relatable to whoever you're talking to, really.
Yeah, no, I love that. And there's so many different labels, and it's just really, we're all talking the same thing. It's just with different language. So yeah.
I'll never forget ever the feeling of humility and gratitude and privilege. Hearing I did 3 years worth of this training, and hearing what people would say, oh my God, like a woman who'd been beaten for being gay in India, on the streets, beaten over and over again, sexually abused, you can imagine, right? and gay in India. It's difficult. And she does the training, and at the end of the training, she goes, "It's okay to be me. I have wisdom."
Yeah.
And the light in her eyes and the face, like, if that's the only conversation I ever had that ever impacted anyone, that would satisfy me for a lifetime.
Yeah.
You know?
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Well, that's why I want to talk about letting wisdom lead, because if you know you've got that, you don't need anything else.
Yeah.
If you know where to look.
That's it. And that's why we're so lucky to be able to share this beautiful wisdom, really. I know actually I've been running a self-rediscovery school foundations program to kind of help people ground in their wisdom, and some of the feedback from that has just kind of filled me up, and you kind of, again, I love crying, so I've just been an emotional wreck. I'm also 8 months pregnant, so that doesn't make
are you? I didn't know. Beautiful.
So
we definitely need to
crying all the time. So.
Definitely let wisdom lead when it comes to birth.
Yes, yeah, I'm on it.
That's one of the places that before this understanding, I knew to let go and allow something bigger than me.
Yeah.
To run.
It was one of the kind of purest visibility of wisdom I've seen, actually, because it was like, oh yeah, literally something is just being created intelligently. Cells are just intelligently kind of collecting within me, and I'm not really doing anything. It's like that's inspired action, right?
right.
So yeah, but that's brilliant. Yeah, thank you. I don't know what time it is, actually. Have we got any time for another question? If there is one, I don't know if there are any. But yeah, thank you so much. If anybody does have another question, just before we end, otherwise I think that's a good place to finish. So
I'd love to say one more thing.
Yeah, great.
Whoever you are, whatever you feel, whatever's going on, whatever's happening in your world right now, you and me, us, we, all of us are designed to meet the needs of the moment. But I choose those words carefully, because when I say the moment, I mean now, this moment, this now. When we are fully in this moment, present, we are given everything we need to deal with this moment.
Yeah.
And the only place we get into trouble is when we try and deal with some other moment that isn't happening now. And what arises in you and me when we are fully present in this moment today is wisdom. And wisdom will say, have a lie down and a cup of tea, love. You're having a bad day. Don't pick up the phone. Wisdom will say, today's the day to make that call. Wisdom will say, I know what I'm going to get my mum for her birthday. Wisdom will say, that's the color my PowerPoint presentation needs to be. It's very practical.
Yeah.
When you are in this moment, doing that little one thing on your list that you're inspired to do, you get everything you need. You're tapped in to the divine intelligence manifesting through you, through this thing called wisdom, and you know it's wisdom because it has ease in it.
That's gorgeous.
And that's what I wanted to just offer.
That's the perfect way to end. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That's gorgeous. Yeah. Michelle says, thank you so much for sharing, Elizabeth and Nicole. I'm going off to dance around the room again.
Oh, enjoy your dancing, Michelle. That's very embodied of you.
That's inspired action, right?
Exactly. Happy dance, right? That's inspired action.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. That was really powerful. I really enjoyed that conversation. Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to share with anyone, like where they can find you or any kind of information? Because I always pop website details and things like that in with the replay in the member vault. So
so I'm basically two things. I do work with leaders and teams, and I'm about to launch a podcast, Let Wisdom Lead, where I interview leaders, where they let their wisdom lead. So lots of things for you, Dom, there, I'm sure. Real life case studies and, riffing on wisdom and leadership. But right now, because I haven't launched it all yet, but just go to my old website, www.elizabethlovius.com. That's just kind of got stuff about me. But my website's changing soon, but just go with that. And then the other thing I do is I help helpers really help. So anybody who's in a helping role, professional helper in the corporate setting, or community helpers, counselors, therapists, doctors, nurses, I help them help better by helping them understand what helps and what doesn't. And that's by training them in wellbeing and how it works. So that's wisdomandwellbeing.co.uk.
Amazing.
So they're the two kind of things I do. And then Wisdom and Wellbeing has a social enterprise where I work with young people.
Yeah. Wow. So much cool stuff. Thank you.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I had lockdown. I could slow down.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm just going to announce who we've got next week. I've already kind of talked about it a little bit. If you need to leave, feel free to pop off. But I'm just going to share. So next Friday the 17th at 8 p.m, same time as usual, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, I am chatting with beautiful, wild Leanne Brooke Tyler, who's here to share about living a soul-led life. So I know Elizabeth is a Leanne fan as well, as am I, as are many others here. So that's really going to be a fun conversation. It's about kind of embracing every ounce of our wild humanness. So yeah, can't wait to share with Leanne next week. That's going to be really good fun. And then after that, we have the fabulous Billy Mann as well, sharing all about how life is a gift to be celebrated. So he's going to be here the week after. So yeah, a couple of fun speakers coming up, and I've got a few more lined up as well. I'm just scheduling in. So yeah, and then as of my Self-Rediscovery School programs are both open for registration for the next round, which is October. And that's really, again, about kind of, there's two different programs. One is about finding a foundational grounding in our wisdom. And then the other one is about unraveling a life we love through dancing in being human. So if you want to, if anybody wants to chat about whether those journeys are for them, I'm always happy to have a discovery call. And yeah, just reach out. I'm always happy to explore with people. So, and obviously I'll be hanging around in the Self-Rediscovery community of connection on Facebook as well. So yeah, thank you guys for coming, and thank you, Elizabeth. It's been really one of my favorite conversations. So yeah,
they're all your favorites.
Yeah, they are. I say it all the time.
Can't have a favorite kid, can you?
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to it back because there was a lot in that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Lovely to be with you. Great to see you, Dom. Karina.
Yeah, good seeing you.
Take care.
See you soon.
Bye.